direct from Chip Kelly's mouth. They're very diverse. They spread the ball around. He uses a bunch of different receivers, and his backs out of the backfield are weapons, and they cause a problem for the second level of defense as far as safeties and linebackers.
And Peter Schrager talked about Julio Jones not being available. Taylor Gabriel has picked up the slack for Atlanta this year.
Well, we understand they're taking a look at the goalpost in one of the end zones to see if it's okay. Taking one more look along with Gene Steratore, our referee today. Atlanta won the toss, by the way, and we'll get the football to begin the second half, so we'll see Colin Kaepernick and company to get it started. Well, when you've lost 12 games in a row, 49ers won their season opener. I mean, it must seem like forever ago that anything good happened.
Well, to me, Tom, and I look at this closely because I hold these guys responsible for being professionals. No matter what the record is, you still have to play, and you have to play hard. And in the NFL, ego can get involved in a locker room. If they can bury the egos, and which they've done, they're just not playing well, but they're playing hard. And that's the only thing you can ask for a team that's been down a lot of guys with injuries.
I mean, look at it this way, guys. For the season, San Francisco is +6 in terms of first quarter scoring. That's for the season. So that means they come out and come ready to play. They're just -148 the rest of the games for that time frame. So we know that they come ready. We know that they try. Let's see if they can put it together for 4 quarters in this one.
Meanwhile, for the Falcons, are we going to see more of Tevin Coleman today? It's been talked about, written about a lot this week. 6 carries, only 6 yards for that man, Dante Freeman, 1 week ago.
Kyle Shanahan loves having 2. And in this league, to be an effective offense, it's best to have 2 running backs that can be explosive. And it's all a feel thing with these guys. Whoever gets hot, you ride that hot horse. Tevin Coleman is explosive. He's explosive here with the Falcons just like he was in Indiana.
And to play the game that you like to play, Chris Spielman, Tevin Coleman playing well will motivate Devontae Freeman. 6 carries, 6 yards last week. I expect Freeman to come out of the gate strong in this one.
We understand they're having a conversation with some of the league officials back in New York. They're trying to figure out if it's level. That's first and foremost. I don't think that all the smart people are in New York that you have to go that far to figure that part of it out.
I think what's interesting, when you do this sort of thing, there's always an operational punch list before you start a game.
That's right.
Now, they had a college game here yesterday, but I don't believe the goalposts are different. You know, you change the padding, but the goalpost is the same. The only thing I can think is maybe in warm-ups, someone did something they weren't supposed to and made it non-level. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Now Chip Kelly will make his way out.
I mean, Tony Gonzalez didn't show up, did he? I mean, he didn't come back and throw one over the goalpost, did he? You know, sometimes the guys in warm-ups, Chris, you and I watched warm-ups today. The linemen will get around the goalpost and do their, their punches towards it, right? Work on their technique. Maybe they knocked it off a little bit askew. Who knows?
It's taken a mighty long time, and Gene appears not to be in much of a hurry.
Well, this is the worst as a player, too, because you want to get the game going and get started. I would think even at the 49ers, I've never seen a team warm up and practice as much as they do. They go through a full practice 3 hours before the game, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, man, either science has changed or I've changed, or I'm getting old, because they play a game before they play a game. It's unbelievable.
It's interesting.
We're being told there will be a delay to kick this one off, because apparently the goalpost needs to be worked on.
We were around Dan Quinn yesterday. You could feel the energy in the building and what they believe and what he's done. I mean, he's brought everything in from ping pong tournaments to Navy SEAL training to log lifting, anything to build camaraderie. And all that stuff works if you have success. Now, when it turns gimmicky, if you lose. But right now, he believes in that, and more importantly, the players believe in what he's doing and the type of leadership role that he's brought.
Yeah, I want you to go in the goal yesterday. I want to throw a few slap shots at you, right? They've got contests where you're doing that. So they're doing a little bit of everything.
You know, let's bring in Mike Pereira. This is quite unusual, Mike, to see the start of a game delayed by something that at least one would assume was probably looked at quite a while ago. Have you ever seen anything like this? You've been around for a long time at both the pro and the college level.
No, this is one. I was in the command center in New York. I would say, let me put you through to somebody else. There's really a couple different operations that go on in New York. There's the officiating command center, and then there is game operations, which has their own center too. And so this is a game operations decision that they had to make here. And obviously they don't want to start the game with this. You know, the whole cockeyed goalpost thing kind of goes back to dunking the ball over the crossbar when we had those celebrations thing and they were knocking the goalposts off kilter. And we had the same thing, had to stop games and then get them lined up right. So game operations has really got involved in this, I am sure, and said, do whatever you do to get it straightened out before the game even starts. And that's what Steratore is trying to do now.
Hey, Mike, this is Charles. You know, would game operations in New York be talking to operations in Atlanta and asking, where's your punch list on this? This is something that you go over in pregame. Do you have any idea of what happened? Did some of the guys do it in warm-ups maybe?
Yeah, it could possibly be that somebody didn't warm up. I mean, you know, I'm looking at it here, it didn't look that off, but somebody obviously made a point of it, and, you know, it can happen. But I agree with you. When the officials are walking around the field an hour before the game, you like to look at those things. But at least now, we've got it fixed.
Yes, we do. The thumbs up from Gene, and thumbs up as always to Mike Pereira back in Los Angeles. An early Merry Christmas, Michael, to you and your family.
Same to you guys.
Thank you very much. Let's check in downstairs before kickoff with Peter once more.
Certainly a unique situation. Literally, you had someone trying to level it with a pulley of some sort, and Steratore saying, good, 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 and we're good. We're good to go. So they've leveled it out. The goalpost was off, and now we're good, and it's time for kickoff.
You know, Peter, you look like you're angled to one side a little bit down there.
Let me get up right here, Tom. Okay, we're good. Let's rock.
See, that's how you hang the pictures at home, too. Good, good, good. No. All right.
All right, believe it or not, we are finally set for football, and what an important game this is for the Atlanta Falcons. We know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, although Atlanta holds a tiebreaker right now over Tampa Bay, each team at 8-5. Buccaneers have a big one tonight, tough place to win on the road in Dallas, although the Cowboys have been slumping the last couple of weeks.
Atlanta could not play this game with the thought that, hey, Tampa's going to lose tonight. You can't count on that at all. They're playing awfully well, having won 5 straight.
And Bosher spins it away, and we're underway. Very short kick. Ja'Cory Shepherd is wrapped up, still on his feet across the 20 up to the 22-yard line. 10 straight games as a starter. Kaepernick has lost. You may remember he started his career winning 18 of his first 24. But you go back even further to Thanksgiving 2014. He is 3-18 as a 49er starter. Not all of that obviously is on him.
Don't forget he had a hiatus in there as well as the starter, where he lost his job last year. Didn't begin the season as the starter. Blaine Gabbert did, and then took over the reins.
It's be his 9th consecutive start since reclaiming that job, and he's going to throw it on first down, and throws a bullet up to the 28-yard line to Garrett Selleck there without Vance McDonald, their top tight end, who injured his shoulder for the year a week ago. Carlos Hyde coming off a monster game last week.
Yeah, I talked to Tom Rathman, the running backs coach for the 49ers before the game. He said the last 4 weeks, Carlos Hyde has been outstanding, and he runs angry. He runs with a bad temper.
Hyde, his first carry, bounces off a couple of tackles and is slammed to the deck about a yard short on the first down. Now, the numbers overall don't look good, Charles, for this Atlanta defense, but Dan Quinn believes it's a defense getting better.
And they are getting better. And you're right, the overall numbers aren't great, but the number they like, +8 in turnover ratio, a big part of that is Vic Beasley. 13.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles on the season.
3rd and a yard. Wide open, and a high throw, and it's incomplete. Hurley was wide open. Ball tipped, and Alford almost came away with the interception.
Well, one reason why you're 1-12 is that you're a team of almost. That was almost a good catch. But he went up with one hand where he has enough vertical, in my opinion, to go up with two hands. Because of the throwing lane by Campbell being occupied, Cullen had to drop it a little bit, and Curly, lazy in my opinion, just went up with one hand instead of two.
Only the LA Rams have gone 3 and out more frequently than the Niners this year. That's the 47th time they've done it. This is Weems, a former Pro Bowl return man from the 11, and look out. Weems has not run one back since 2010. Will that change now? He's out of bounds across midfield at the 48-yard line.
Look at the space that he has once he cuts through, and a real good non-block right there by Atlanta. That could have been a block in the back, but he pulled off of it, and then Bradley Pinion, the punter, able to push him out of bounds just enough on the sideline, but he really didn't have to work that hard, I thought, Chris, on the return, because there was plenty of space.
Just like playing defense, you have to have gap control. They call that coverage lanes. Everybody got out of their coverage lane. They created a big ball. All they do is bounce it outside and off to the races.
Ryan, 31 years young, in his 9th season out of Boston College and having the best season of his excellent career. They hand it to Devontae Freeman, and that's the way you make sure you get more carries. He cuts it back the other way, and that's a gain of almost 9.
Watch Alex Mack. He's been a big addition to this football team, and one reason why is that Alex Mack, number 51, can get to the second level. You see that? He's already on top of that linebacker. He swings his hips, which allows the cutback lane for Freeman. When you have a center that can double and get to the second level, that creates gaps and bubbles for running backs to hit.
Brought in Mack as a free agent from Cleveland, a 3-time Pro Bowl center for the Browns. Second down and a yard. And a strike to convert a first down to Mohamed Sanu, who's back after missing last week with a groin injury.
Sanu, number 12, watch him right off the line of scrimmage, wins the route early, and you saw him right there, number 25, Jimmy Ward. You talk about swinging hips, Chris. He just swung his hips inside, gave him the lane to the outside, and Sanu said no problem. Easy pitch and catch with Matt Ryan.
50th catch of the season for Sanu. His career high came with the Bengals in 2014. He needs 6 more to match that number. 3 tight ends. They give it to Freeman, cuts it back to the inside, and that's a gain of 8. So some kind of offense averaging nearly 33 points per game, #1 in the league.
And in the last 6 games, Taylor Gabriel has had catches of over 26 catches, over 25 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's been an explosive downfield threat, and just think what he's going to bring when Julio Jones is back in the lineup.
And we saw Kyle Shanahan there, the offensive coordinator, up in the booth. He knew Taylor Gabriel in Cleveland, coached him there. So when he became available, as he told us, it wasn't a hard sell because we knew the talent, but he definitely knew he wanted Taylor Gabriel on his team. And boy, has he justified that move.
Nick Bellore, the injured linebacker of the 49ers, will step out.
This game is sponsored by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency.
Bellore helped to the sideline for the 49ers. Second down and 2, opening possession for Atlanta. Ryan fakes it one way, and now he's going to run it. And he's short of the first down. He may have lost a yard. Eli Harold in hot pursuit.
Tremendous job by Jimmy Ward here. They're going to bring a crosser here and trying to get a bootleg and sneak him behind the line of scrimmage. Watch Jimmy Ward, 25, coming up on Perkins. Matt Ryan always makes good decisions. Decided to tuck and run and save his offensive lineman for creating a sack.
And what we saw there was that new addition over the last 2 years for Matt Ryan. More agility in the offense. Bootlegs, sprint outs, things of that nature he didn't run before.
Third down a yard, they're going to throw it. And it is caught, and that is good enough for a first down inside the 10-yard line. And Joshua Perkins, he's getting playing time now after that injury to Jacob Tammy earlier in the year.
Perkins coming out of the backfield, lined him up at fullback, number 82 in black, snuck him out into the flat. And my notes say that's his first catch of the year.
It is.
Am I correct?
Yes.
How about Joshua Perkins, undrafted out of the University of Washington, giving them good play down the stretch?
A little help there from Aldrick Robinson on picking off the inside linebacker, Vinny Sinceri, to create that open space.
Give it to Devontae Freeman, and he's into the end zone, a touchdown. Patrick Pancake DeMarco leading the way. I'm going to tell you what, you get DeMarco's way, you're going to be looking up at the top of this dome.
Well, the thing about this team, everybody has a role. DeMarco understands his role, and let's see if he executes the role. Creating a block on Ahmad Brooks. They're able to seal the backside so there's no over-the-top pursuit. And Devontae Freeman untouched for an easy 6.
You see why DeMarco was a Pro Bowl alternate last year, went to it as he ended up on the team. Excellent lead blocker and can catch the ball in the backfield as well.
Back-to-back years, this 49er defense has allowed 20 or more rushing touchdowns. The point after is good. That's the first time that's happened to the 49ers in back-to-back years since 79 and 80. Falcons flying high early on.
Today's game is sponsored by Bud Light. Make the right call. Drink responsibly.
Sellout crowd here. The final year the Falcons will be playing inside the Georgia Dome. Opening drive, take a look at that. 7th touchdown, most this season for the Falcons on their first possession. All of it, of course, set up by that 42-yard punt return by Eric Weems. Shepard from the 4-yard line cuts it back to the outside, and a nice return for Ja'Cory Shepard all the way up to the 45-yard line. First time that Colin Kaepernick has come back into this building, where in 2012 he started the NFC Championship game against Atlanta. Falcons raced down to a big lead. Kaepernick threw for 233 yards and ultimately led the Niners to the 4-point win and on to the Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens in the matchup of the Harbaugh brothers.
And came down to one last throw in the end zone. So close on 4th down, didn't get it. So John Harbaugh wins, Jim Harbaugh loses. And boy, it wasn't too long after that the fortunes changed for this franchise.
You're not lying about that. I mean, you just think back to that game. We know Kaepernick can still run it. He'll slide down at the 50. Let's check in with our good friend back in Los Angeles, Miss Carissa Thompson. Hi, Carissa.
Hi, Tom. This was a good game. Bears battled back from down 17 in the 4th, but Aaron Rodgers, with 31 seconds left to go in the game, connects with Jordy Nelson for a 60-yard score. In field goal range, Mason Crosby closes this one out. They win 30-27, and now in 2nd place in the NFC North. Tom.
Chris Spielman, they gave up a bomb with 30 seconds left in the game. I know that. I know you looked at what? What happened?
Carlos Hyde puts it on the ground. And it looks like the Falcons have covered it up. Stripped out of there by Deion Jones. And the Falcons have it.
Game is sponsored by the new Bacon King sandwich, only at Burger King.
When things are going bad, every category it's bad. Falcons had 5 takeaways, a season best last week. Already won today. That's a 12th lost fumble by the 49ers this year. To give you an idea, the league average is 3.
Hey, Tom, Charles, I said something about this team fighting and competing. This is not competing. He's responsible for blocking Deion Jones.
This Jeremy Curley.
Jeremy Curley does not. He throws a no-hitter. And Deion Jones, who does a great job of putting his head on the football and wrapping his arms up, forces a turnover. But we talk about competing. You have to compete no matter what the score is, no matter what your record is. It's play in and play out, and that's losing football. Not even trying to block.
Play action. Gabriel wide open. And Ryan finds him. And like a pinball, he's right off that bumper and gets an extra 4 inside the 30.
Does a really nice job of reading coverage, does Taylor Gabriel, number 18. He's going to come down in here and sit down. He's going to hook up right there and show his numbers, that 1 and 8. Right there, look at that. Just sits down, waits, and as Tom described, takes the extra hit, bounces off for extra yardage. Taylor Gabriel's turned into quite a player.
It's 21 catches for Gabriel just in the last 6 weeks. And there's Coleman. And he's inside the 10-yard line. Second year back out of Indiana.
So if DeMarco's in the ball game, if you're a 49er defender, please follow him because he will take you to the ball. Now, as a lead blocker, you always don't have to get the knockout punch. You might get knocked back, but if you occupy, force a defender to give 1-for-1, then you do your job as they go tempo.
And again, DeMarco, boy, what an extremely valuable player to have on your team. A lot of teams don't even use a fullback anymore. To the corner of the end zone. Incomplete. Got an eye on Justin Hardy down there. And very good coverage by Tremaine Brock.
I know that was an incomplete pass, but since we're talking about the fullback, watch DeMarco on this play. Watch this block as he gives additional time to his quarterback. Wow. Look at that as he upends Antoine Bethea, a 3-time Pro Bowler. Look, Patrick DeMarco, his uncle, Chris DeMarco, PGA Tour golfer. Remember we took Tiger Woods to the limit at the Masters? That same feistiness translates right there to that fullback wearing 42.
All day to throw it. Back of the end zone, and that is a touchdown for Gabriel.
When you have the same speed coming into a cut as coming out of a cut, Charles, you're very difficult to cover. That's why this guy right here, Gabriel, is so good, because not of his initial speed down the field, but his burst out of the cut where he has a second gear. Then, of course, you have Matt Ryan throwing a dime, throwing him open beautifully.
You know, Chris, I got to ask you, and Charles, I mean, you've been around football so long, but Chris, close to your hometown team you grew up rooting for. How does Cleveland let this guy walk out the door 1 week before the season opener?
So the only thing I could think of, it wasn't one of theirs. They didn't pick him. And I don't know, because he's explosive, and anytime he gets the ball, he does something with it.
Chris, you're talking about him going in that cut. Went into it at 100, came out at 110.
Yeah.
I mean, he is explosive, powerful, leverage, and strong.
We were watching him down on the field run his routes in pregame, and you're wondering, God's the only person that can cover this guy. He's so fast.
This game on Fox is sponsored by AT&T.
Falcons trying to run away and hide early on. 5 plays after the fumble by Carlos Hyde. 50 yards capped off by the touchdown to Gabriel. And Chip Kelly's team needing points, and needing points right now. Shepard's going to bring it out 5 yards from the end zone, and a poor decision. Excellent special teams coverage by Hardy. First guy down the field. America's fastest growing sports show is on FS1.
Tomorrow we discuss today's NFL action.
And the return of Tony Romo as Cowboys starter.
That's not funny. Undisputed 9:30 Eastern FS1.
All right, fellas, let me a little weigh in on this, Charles. We've seen the Cowboys, Chris, this year. The last 2 weeks, the Cowboys have averaged 12 points a game. They've turned it over 5 times after turning it over 7 times the first 11 weeks.
Way bigger than Dak Prescott. Way bigger than that. He keeps that job, and off they go. Remember, Tony Romo's not the same Tony Romo as 3-4 years ago now.
First down drop by Sullivan. Well, she was talking about it very early this morning, this topic of Romo, Prescott. That's Carissa Thompson. Hi, Carissa.
Hi, Tom. Now we're going to turn our attention to the AFC South. Brock Osweiler was benched in the first half. Tom Savage to Lamar Miller for this 1-yard score. Texans win 21-20. Then Titans on the road, game-winning field goal. Huge win for them. Both of these teams tied at 8-6. Tom?
Charles, that's your steps on the quarterback of that Tennessee team.
Marcus Mariota, what a great job they have done this year under Mike Mularkey.
Drop behind the line of scrimmage is high by Brooks Reed. Let's check in downstairs with Peter.
Hey, Tom, 12 straight losses for the 49ers. Maybe you're going to mix up something. Hey, look, on the sidelines today, Christian Ponder's the number 2. Blaine Gabbert inactive. So we're watching Kaepernick right now. But Christian Ponder might be the name you start hearing in the next couple drives, maybe next second half, because Ponder's number 2, Gabbert not dressed.
Yeah, and one-time #1 pick and starter in Minnesota.
And remember, Gabbert is a healthy inactive, so they just made the decision to make the switch, as Peter just told us.
Keep your eye on number 44, Vic Beasley, right here at the top of your screen.
Just to get it off ahead of the play clock. Kaepernick throws incomplete, 3 and out for the Niners.
And they just look totally overwhelmed to me, Chris. I mean, no matter whether they're trying to run the ball, throw the ball, they just don't feel that there's zero sync with this offense right now.
They're playing with Dwight Freeney in there, getting pressure. He's been doing it for a long time. They run a little bit of next game. How many years have we seen Dwight Freeney do this spin move? He's had a Hall of Fame career off the spin move.
And guess who's going to add that to his arsenal? Vic Beasley will at some point very soon.
Coming up to get it is Weems, a fair catch at the 45-yard line. We're in the opening quarter. Home team out in front, 14-0. Small screen, stadium-sized content. Watch live, local Sunday games right on your smartphone with NFL Mobile.
We were doing that pregame. Me and Chris Spielman. Look at Jim O'Neill, the defensive coordinator. You know, we've had this team, twice in the last 3-4 weeks. And Chris, you were talking about at the top about how hard they play. But you also have to have personnel. They're down some guys as well in terms of injuries and accumulation through this year.
Yeah, they're down linebackers, defensive line, secondary. Everybody's got a problem. So that's the problem. Everybody's got a problem. How are you going to play?
Devontae Freeman one way, cuts it back the other way, breaks a tackle, spun down in midfield. Yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, where it's Navarro Bowman, Eric Armstead. They lost Eric Reed a number of weeks ago, Ray Armstrong. You know, so when you're starting to drop down at 6 or 7 or 8 different positions to the 2nd or 3rd level on your depth chart, tough road to hoe.
You can still play with great effort. Sign your name to what you do every single day. And get on film. I mean, let's be honest. You're 1-12. You're getting on film and auditioning for other teams.
Huge hole. Freeman wasn't touched until he had picked up the first down all the way to the 41-yard line.
Because Alex Mack is so good at getting to the 2nd level and walling off Will Hoyt right here, this is why the run game can go. You get a knockout on Dorsey. You get Alex Mack again to the 2nd level. Will Hoyt cannot get off the block. And Freeman trusts that offensive line, and he has great vision, and he's running like he wants his position back, Charles.
Nice Hartman! Come on! Nice Hartman! Right out!
Freeman again, and this time buried behind the line of scrimmage by Tremaine Brock.
See, that was well played by the defensive front of San Francisco, because Tremaine Brock, the corner, made the tackle, but watch how they take away the area that Devontae Freeman wants to run. See, they get a stalemate up front. No one moves off the line of scrimmage. Buckner, number 99, nice job holding point of attack. So now Freeman can't gain the edge, and he tries to cut it back, and Tremaine Brock makes a nice tackle.
DeForest Buckner coming off a monster game, 11 tackles, 10 solo, had 2 sacks against the Jets in that overtime loss last week. Ryan to a wide open Mohamed Sanu, and that is a first down inside the 30 to the 27-yard line. Ryan, 5 of 6, 71 yards after that 16-yard gain.
Well, it's a zone pressure right here, and Sanu's going to end up as he drops the corner, working off a defensive lineman, dropping back into coverage, and that's too easy. I mean, that's pitch and catch. Devontae Freeman allowed Matt Ryan to step up in that pocket and throw.
Oh my goodness. A shot delivered on Aldrick Robinson by Brock, but Robinson hung on to the football. Wow.
And this tells you what kind of year it is for both teams, because Brock makes a nice play and a big hit, but Robinson ends up holding on. Guess who's in first place, and guess who's 1-12? Even when you make a good play, it doesn't go quite right for you.
In the hands of Coleman. And he picks up 2.
We talked about the diversity of the Falcons, and not only guy being able to take a shot, but Matt Ryan spreads the ball to so many different receivers, and they're a threat, and they force the defense to defend sideline to sideline, short to back. Not every offense puts that type of pressure on a defense.
Ryan dumps it off to Coleman. That's Aaron Lynch able to run him out of bounds at the 9-yard line. It'll bring up a 3rd down. First time we said that, I think, this entire game for the Atlanta offense.
But it's the type of offense that doesn't have to throw the ball here on 3rd down.
One time, I beg your pardon.
Okay. I mean, in this situation here, with a 14-0 lead, Dan Quinn, who is an attack type of a coach, could very well have said to Kyle Shanahan's offense coordinator, you got 4 downs here if I like what you get on 3rd down if you need it. Because he may very well want to go ahead and get that.
They have Coleman and Freeman in together, which is unusual.
Kyle Shanahan, hand on face, the offensive coordinator, and the play clock running down to 1 before Matt Ryan says timeout before this 3rd and 3.
Well, that's because of the unusual alignment.
Well, fellas, you know, look, when you're a team, and you brought this up very early on, Charles, and I thought it was right on the nose about you can't count on Tampa Bay losing later tonight in Dallas. You know, they always say you can only take care of what you can take care of, and a very good start for a team trying to get win number 9.
And that was a message that I know that Dan Quinn, the head coach of Atlanta, gave his team all week long. Take care of our business. No one else matters right now. So don't count on anything else. Work to get better, and he loved the attitude of the team. He told us, we know we've got a lot to improve on, and they're working towards it.
Well, and the biggest improvement has probably been the defense, although the numbers don't show. You have a lot of young guys, whether it's Neal at safety, Deion Jones at linebacker. The communication with that defense has been much better, so when you have better communication, you have a lack of mental mistakes and better execution.
And you play a whole lot faster, don't you, when you know what you're doing.
All right, so 3rd down and 3. Ryan delivers, that is Freeman, and he is shoved out of bounds right at the 1-yard line. It's 1st and goal for the Falcons.
Charles, that's the perfect example of making you defend the whole field, and you talk about Freeman and Coleman together. 62 catches between them. Matt Ryan trusts where Freeman was going to be.
And they take such great pride in being good receivers. He just ran that route on Vinny Sunseri, who's a natural safety, who's playing some linebacker today. A one-on-one route for Freeman, beat him to the sideline, and now they got a chance to score again inside the 1 or close to the 1.
3 tight ends, an extra offensive lineman, and DeMarco leading the way, and it's blown dead before it ever got started.
False start. 76 offense.
That's the extra offensive lineman you just brought in. Let's check in with Peter.
Tom, you talk about not worrying about what the Buccaneers are doing tonight. You know, earlier in the season, Dan Quinn put a Marvin Hagler tape on and said, here's the deal with Marvin Hagler. He had a draw in his career, and he said, I'm never going to leave it up to the judges again. I'm going to trust my 2 fists, and that's how we're going to get it done. And that's the message here with the Atlanta Falcons. We can't worry about the standings. We can't worry about playoff scenarios. Let's trust our own fists, and let's get the job done.
Yeah, Peter, I think that was with Vito Anafirmo. And then he came back and beat him again for the title and never really looked back until Sugar Ray Leonard took the split decision against him.
I can assure you that's the first time Vito's heard his name on Fox. So they're backed up after the penalty. It's a nice play by the aforementioned Buckner, their #1 pick. Boy, what an excellent rookie year he has had.
His effort is outstanding and his get off on the ball. That's one thing that makes him so difficult to block, and he just run a little X game right there. Perfect call against that blocking scheme, but for a guy to have 10 solo tackles from that position,
yep,
that's a lot of plays he's making.
X game, you mean the end of the tackle crossing right there?
2nd down and goal from the 8-yard line, and Ryan just throws it away. 3rd down and goal coming up. Falcons have run 20 plays on offense. 11 of the 20 have gone for 8 yards or more.
And this is where San Francisco has to take advantage of the gift they were given on 1st down when Tom Compton drew the penalty. The extra offensive lineman comes into the game, gets the penalty, sets them back 5 yards. Here's San Francisco's opportunity to force a field goal attempt and keep themselves in the ball game.
The 11th play of this drive. 47 seconds remain in the opening quarter. And it is a touchdown to the rookie Austin Hooper. That's on a 3rd and goal from a 9-yard line.
See Austin Hooper, the rookie tight end out of Stanford. This is why they drafted him. Pass catching ability. He catches it, takes it all the way through. Watch how they use motion. See how they spread everyone out to declare coverage for San Francisco. And once they declared, look what happened downfield. Runs a one-on-one route with a nice little cross in front of him to chip him off a little bit, and he's into the end zone for the score.
Tark got caught peeking at the quarterback, and Hooper ran by him. His eyes were too late. You got to play fast with your eyes.
Point after by Bryant. He's missed just one all year. So Hooper taking over for the injured Tammy. His 3rd touchdown, 21-0. Matt Ryan has just tied a career high. That's his 32nd touchdown pass of this season, and he's very much in the conversation for the league's most valuable player. Meanwhile, for these 49ers, I mean, you're not even 15 full minutes into this game, and it is 21-0. You've had 2 3-and-outs. You've had a fumble, a big punt return against you. You run a grand total so far in this game of 8 plays for 12 yards. You know, you look at where the 49ers were just in this venue 3 years ago, and now a half-empty stadium, headlines all over the Bay Area after the loss to the Jets in overtime, hitting rock bottom. Who pays the price? Kelly's mismanagement in the second half on offense. The most embarrassing loss of the season. They had the 14-0 lead in the first quarter. They lost, and that goes hand in hand with, does Chip Kelly get another year as head coach? Does Trent Baalke, their longtime general manager, does he keep his job? The York family, many decisions to make.
All about being positive and looking for positive things. Well, there's nothing to be positive about. You're 1-12. And right now, at least for that first quarter, they're throwing up the white flag.
Caught by Patton up to the 37-yard line. And on the final play, maybe, of this opening quarter, the 49ers get their first down of the quarter.
So what you're looking for, you mentioned it earlier, Chris, you're looking for who's going to play today. Because they have played hard throughout the season. It's almost like they hit their break point in this first quarter we've seen here. Can someone snap it back together? Can a few guys start to play hard and give them what they need? That's what we'll look for.
Well, that'll be the final play of the opening quarter. 21-0 Atlanta. The NFL on Fox continues after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. We take into account what the Falcons did last week. Their last 6 quarters, they have outscored the opponent by nearly 70 points. Patton bounces off a 1 tackle and trying to turn it around the other way. Run out of bounds by Alford. First guy there, the rookie, and there are many of them standing out on this very young defense. Devondre Campbell.
Watch how he takes care of his responsibilities and assignments. All right, he does not get fooled by anything. He sees the jet sweep coming his way and takes care of that. Doesn't get him on the ground, but what it allows is for everyone else to arrive. Look at the number of black shirts that ended up in the screen on this play after the first missed tackle by Campbell.
Team defense. Know your role. Execute your role.
Play clock appeared to expire. Or did they get a timeout?
Timeout. San Francisco.
So before a 2nd down and 19, the Niners call time, and we'll be right back.
Today's Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Citizen Echo Drive watches, powered by Light.
Tell you what, if Monterey, California has the best aquarium in the country, Atlanta is not too far behind.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
It is spectacular in downtown Atlanta. Those are the numbers we referred to a moment ago. Falcons outscoring their opponents by nearly 70. That's a nice tackle made in the open field there by the rookie Neal. Third down coming up. Peter Schrager.
Injuries everywhere for the 49ers. Add another one. Nick Ballore, the linebacker, is out with an elbow injury, and they've got Vinny Sunseri, who's a safety wearing number 40, filling in of him at linebacker.
Yeah, you remember Gerald Hodges is a scratch for today. I believe a healthy scratch. They're really down in the linebacker position.
And you saw Quentin Patton just being carted back to the 49er locker room. Third down for Kaepernick. Looking around, and wide open down the middle of the field is the big fella, the Belldozer, they called him in Oklahoma, Blake Bell. And he's down on elbows and knees after the big catch at the 20-yard line. It's a 45-yard gain.
Yeah, you have to understand where the sticks are and be deepest and deepest. Blake Bell working in the hole. Colin Kaepernick does a nice job. Eyes downfield, not tucking and running. Trusted his arm, delivering a strike to Bell.
Blake Bell is in a tremendous amount of pain, just now making his way back to the 49er sideline after that 45-yard reception, more than double their yardage total from their first 11 plays of the game.
And you see Chip Kelly looking as Blake Bell goes by. Now he's got to keep personnel in his head about who's available when he makes his play call selections.
Well, Vance McDonald was injured last week. That's a nicely designed play right there. That's Harper. And that's a gain of 7. We send it back to Los Angeles to Carissa Thompson.
Tom, you're going to love this one. So the Saints up 10-7 on the road. Drew Brees drops back. Marcus Golden forces the fumble, and Calais Campbell, all 6'8", 300 pounds of him, scoops it up and takes this one 51 yards for the score. Cardinals lead 13-10.
Big fella getting down the field. I tell you what, there's a lot of weird stuff going on out there right now in Arizona. I tell you, the coach, all of a sudden the most popular man in town, doesn't appear to be all that happy. And there's Selleck on the slant and a touchdown. And something finally to be happy about for these 49ers.
This is a beautiful route run by Selleck. Really a nice job of selling the fact that he was going to the flag or the back pylon of the end zone. Caught it on a post, and the timing between he and Kaepernick was perfect. This is a way to compete, guys. Watch this. He's going to sell it, then come right back to the post. Watch him even use his head to sell it. See that? He threw his eyes out there just enough. And Alford was too late on the coverage, but the ball is being thrown before Selleck is out of his cut, and that's what I'm talking about competing and fighting. You can still do it. You're professional football players. Just hang in and do your job.
It all started with the mobility of Kaepernick on that third down play to open things up for Blake Bell.
Point after by Dawson is good. Well, you could take it to the bank that Selleck's been competing his whole life. He grew up in the same household with his brother Brent.
This game is sponsored by the $10 any pizza carryout deal, only at Pizza Hut.
All right, something good has happened for the 49ers. The bad news is on the 45-yard reception, it appears they've lost Bell, at least for the remainder of this half. Peter will bring us up to speed shortly. But they get the touchdown to his running mate Selleck. And Kaepernick 75 passing yards, 45 on that completion to Bell.
Go back to that play. Atlanta guarded the first down line, but the mobility of Kaepernick extended the play and opened things up, and he found Bell for that big gain, and that led to the continuation of their drive that culminated in the touchdown pass.
So here comes Matt Ryan, the 31-year-old native of Philadelphia. He's thrown for 4,000 yards in now 6 consecutive seasons. That is tied for the second longest streak all time. Drew Brees, 11 in a row. Can you believe that, fellas? 11 in a row. Oh, and by the way, some guy named Peyton Manning did it 6 straight.
That's pretty good company he's keeping right there, isn't it? And he has improved his game from 2015 to 2016 considerably. Mobility, taking care of the football, very sharp in his decision making, and it's paying off big for Atlanta.
Throw it on first down. And a slant to Aldrick Robinson, who can fly. Will he go the distance? Run out of bounds inside the 20.
When you give a pre-snap read of man-to-man coverage, it's all about matchups. Matt Ryan predetermined in his mind he was going to Aldrick Robinson on a skinny post. Dart takes a poor angle, and he's off and running. But that's understanding and reading the defensive coverage that predetermined in your mind that I know Robinson's going to win that one-on-one matchup, and the ball's delivered on time and on target.
And he won that route right there at the line of scrimmage. You see that first little quick move? Just turned around. The defensive back on that play, Dante Johnson, and he was off to the races.
59-yard gain on the pass play. You know, Charles, I want to go back to something you just said a minute ago, because, look, we can get into stats, and we talk about stats and this and that all the time, and nobody knows better than you guys. You play the game. You start getting into that turnover and giveaway and takeaway thing. Last year, Matt Ryan threw 16 interceptions. He fumbled 12 times. You take care of the ball, you give your team a chance.
And even within that, it was where they happened.
Yep.
The crucial times, the red zone interceptions, the ones where they were backed up in their own territory. And remember the Kansas City game a couple weeks ago, Chris, when he threw to Eric Berry? People here were, oh boy, was that a... No, that was just one game. He's taking care of it.
Well, yeah, and you think about the personnel they surrounded him with. Hey, you look at Julio Jones.
Right.
Then you have the emergence of Hardy. You have Austin Hooper coming on, Coleman, and Freeman.
Gabriel cut back to the inside. And down to the 10 is Devontae Freeman, and we check in downstairs. A lot to talk about for Peter.
Yeah, another name is Aldrick Robinson, guys, who had that big play. Julio Jones spent all practice Friday working with him. That was the play they were on. Makes a big play, another contribution.
That was out of football last year. Robinson spent 4 years with the Washington Redskins. Freeman trying to stay on his feet, just short of the goal line. It'll bring up first and goal from the 1.
Well, when you're able to change the line of scrimmage off of a simple power play, that means the backside guard pulls around and able to kick out. And Will Hoyt is there on block. That's where you got to make the play. That's what I'm talking about. You got to make a play because you're in position. That's not O'Neill's fault.
And the ball, the 49ers say, is loose inside the 1. No signal given yet. And it is a fumble inside the 1 by Freeman. And the 49ers have the football. Will Hoyt, who just missed a tackle a moment ago, comes out of the bottom of the pile with a football. They'll review this while we're away.
See, he's still up at this point, and he's already in contact with the football.
I was still waiting to hear the final verdict. We will check in with Mike Pereira back in Los Angeles. The ruling on the field is it's a fumble inside the 1 in 49er football. Mike, you've been looking at it. I mean, I don't know how in the world you turn it over. Do you?
No, I don't. Matter of fact, I think if anything, you know, you do see that the ball is pulled out of his hand, but never a really good look. Like, to me, again, thinking that they did rule this a fumble and a recovery by San Francisco, I would think it would have to stay that.
Mike, it appeared that Will Hoyt, number 57, was pulling it out of his arms as they were going to the ground.
All right, here we have it.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, San Francisco.
That is the first time an Atlanta Falcons running back has fumbled the football this entire year. 381 touches.
Now that's commendable right there. And Mike, you saw it. You saw it there. I think what we thought was the case turned out to be. Stay with the call.
Yeah. And I think that very last shot that we showed, you can actually see that his arm is off the ball. So to me, even though you couldn't prove it, I do think it was more of a fumble than not.
All right, 49ers with the ball inside their own 1-yard line. Kaepernick to throw it, and that gives him a little bit of room up to the 8-yard line. We talked about all the turnovers, especially their ineffectiveness last season inside the red zone. It's the first time they've turned it over in their last 46 drives in the red zone. You know, all these weapons were here last year for Matt Ryan. I mean, all the same guys are here. Now, Gabriel's developed into a big play threat. But we'll get inside some of the numbers a little bit later on just what taking care of the ball has meant to the Falcons. First big run of the afternoon after a 193-yard rushing day a week ago for the former Ohio State Buckeye, Carlos Hyde.
And he can give an assist to this offensive line as Carlos Hyde on this little zone read option right here. And what happens, Grady Jarrett loses his balance, vacates his gap, and Carlos Hyde has tremendous burst for a bigger type of back and hit that hole. Grady Jarrett loses his feet. That's a wide open running space.
Hyde again. And that's a gain of 15, 17 and 15 on back-to-back carries for Hyde. Here's Peter Schrager.
Yeah, the 49ers are moving the ball. They're going to have to do it without two key contributors. Quentin Patton out officially with a foot injury. Blake Bell questionable to return with a shoulder injury. And guys, over here, they're working on Jimmy Ward also, who might be their top defensive back. Doctors are looking at him as we speak.
All right, Peter, thank you. Certainly one thing the 49ers have done well a lot this year is run the football. You know, last week against the New York Jets, Carlos Hyde had runs of 49, 43, 25, 20, 18, 11. They've ranked in the top 5 all year long as far as rushing yards per game.
And give a lot of credit to the offensive line last week. He ran for 193 yards, 143 of those before contact. So that was a big-time deal for them, and their ability to run the ball again right now is helping them get back into this game.
We'll be back in 30 seconds. So many young players on this Atlanta defense, including the rookie out of Minnesota, 4th-round pick, shaken up a moment ago, Devondre Campbell.
A couple things crossing my mind right now, guys. Number one, we were wondering, would San Francisco play harder than what we saw earlier in the game? That's being answered. They are definitely doing that. But sometimes, as you know, Chris Spielman, when you have a 21-0 lead, there's a letdown that happens. And I think we're seeing some of that with Atlanta right now. They've got to figure it out because if San Francisco starting to move the ball effectively.
That first quarter, they tanked it. Now they come back to prove themselves, and they are signing their name to what they do as professionals so far the second quarter.
So Ward leaving via the golf cart. Boy, that was a bullet through the hands of Rod Streetel and send it back to Los Angeles to Carissa Thompson.
Thanks, Tom. Tie game 3-3. Patriots on the road in Denver. Brady hands it off to LeGarrette Blount for this 1-yard run. Now Blount leads the league in rushing touchdowns with 15, and that's now a franchise record as well. Patriots lead 10-3. Tom.
Of course, that's the only place where Tom Brady has a losing record in Denver.
You notice their preparations this week? They really want this one in a big way, does New England. Still smarting from the AFC Championship game loss last year.
Kaepernick flushed out of the pocket, chased, and run out of bounds. Boy, can Vic Beasley Jr. run. That'll go as a sack.
This is the difference maker. You know, this is why Vic Beasley is who he is. First of all, they line him up over Joshua Garnett, and they're using him as a spy technique, Charles.
And as a spy, the reason you can use him is because he can play on his feet. Remember, outside linebacker Clemson made him a defensive end last year, moved him back to his natural position. His weight's down. He looks like the whippet he was at Clemson. And look at him running down one of the best running quarterbacks in the NFL.
Started the day in a tie with Von Miller for the most sacks in the NFL. It's 14 and a half now for Vic Beasley Jr. And look out, Weems, another big return, his second of the afternoon across midfield.
Well, that's twice on punt returns. And that covering the punt is all about being disciplined, in your rush lanes.
Got a flag down. Let's see what happens on it.
It's all the way back, basically at the line of
Showing the
scrimmage.
kick, holding, return team number 16. Half the distance to the goal from the end of the kick. First down, Atlanta.
So it's from the end of the kick, not where it was brought back in the return. So this is going to back Atlanta up inside the 15-yard line.
That's unfortunate because, as Chris described, look where your lanes. Everybody covering. Well, they got out of the lanes, and look at Weems here. He's making people miss all on his own. Right, great block there by DeMarco, 42, and Hardy. Look here. Watch Hardy, 16. Ends up tripping him, and it turned into the penalty. He was actually trying to avoid the block, and ended up creating a penalty for Atlanta. They saw him go down, and they threw the flag.
All right, so he actually fielded the punt at the 14-yard line, so half the distance to the goal, puts it just beyond the 7. Actually, now they'll spot it at the 6-yard line. 8 minutes to go until halftime, and they pitch it to Coleman. And no running room on first down. Peter Schrager has been very, very busy along the sideline.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's been the Niners sideline. Jimmy Ward, their star corner / safety, it's a shoulder, questionable to return.
Well, Peter, I'll tell you what, and you know, these guys are all out here giving effort. But Chris, you've seen this throughout the years. The worse the record, the more those injuries pile up during a game and during a season, don't they?
Yeah.
One of those things that almost goes hand in hand that way, where it's where you have some discouragement kicking in too.
You have Rashard Robinson, number 33, taking the place of Jimmy Ward. So if you're Atlanta, you might want to put the attack out on his edge.
There is confusion here. And jumping early may have been the best thing to happen on that play for the 49ers if it's against them, because Bethea was screaming at someone.
Defense, number 55. 5-yard penalty, second down.
Bethea was locked up against a wide receiver, and he was screaming at somebody to get in better position.
And Ahmad Brooks, there's one thing about anticipating the snap count, think you got it. There's another one of jumping it. And what must be going through the head of Ahmad Brooks? The only starter remaining on defense from that team that came here in 2013 and won the NFC Championship game against Atlanta.
Just sitting down in an open spot is Sanu up for a first down. What do you think about both of these teams? Jim Harbaugh was the coach of the 49ers. They were just getting this thing revved up and getting it rolling. You had Mike Smith, who had such a great run here in Atlanta. Multiple trips to the playoffs. By far the most successful coach in franchise history.
By far.
And then you go to last year. 2 years ago, Smith gets fired. Dan Quinn comes in. We know the Harbaugh story. Tom Sula for 1 year, and now Kelly. And that is caught by Robinson up to the 43-yard line.
Matt Ryan being able to maneuver in the pocket allows Robinson time to run all the way across the field on a deep crossing route. But if you watch Matt Ryan's footwork and the arm strength to throw a little bit off balance just by sliding into the pocket, trusting and looking for a throwing lane created by the offensive line.
And he was the next part of the progression, because Ryan wanted someone else first, and then, as Chris described, footwork reset and found Robinson.
Big hole for Tevin Coleman. And the one-time Indiana Hoosier inside the 30 all the way down to the 28-yard line. A 29-yard run by Coleman.
Talk about the additions of all these players. Take a look at 51, Alex Mack. And Chris Chester, number 65. They call him the Silver Fox. Again, getting to the second level. When you have a center that can get to the second level and you chop down that nose guard, it is easy for a running back to. Tom Brenneman could have ran through that hole.
Well, and then they'd be calling the running back the Silver Fox. And there's Freeman. Still on his feet inside the 10-yard line.
They motivate each other, huh? One guy breaks off a run. Please, coach, get me back in there. Let me show you what I can do.
And Freeman had the fumble. But watch again. Watch it. This is probably a stretch run. Look at him. It's all zone blocking. Everyone just stepping, finding a guy locked up on Bethea right there. It was an excellent job by Schrader, number 73, the right tackle. And Freeman just bolted through the hole.
And again, Chester helping clear the way.
You know, they've been trying to replace him for a while, and they can't because he's solid.
Solid, dependable, assignment sound, understands what they want done.
Falcons are averaging over 7 yards a carry. Freeman just running through tackles to the end zone. My goodness.
Running to prove a point. Running to show that I will not fumble again if I get another opportunity. I'm going to take it in with authority, Charles.
Watch these guys up front. They are bringing back memories of that offensive line of when they were really, really good. The teams that Tom Brenneman was talking about, when they had the nasty side, right? And the technical side. And this offensive line is coming together. And as Chris just described, number 24 would not be denied. Even ran through a face mask right there to get into the end zone.
Tell you what, when they have these two running backs healthy, and they have Julio Jones, they brought in Sanu from Cincinnati. The emergence, as we talked about earlier, the rookie Hooper, picking up Gabriel from Cleveland. It's a team averaging 33 points per game. They'll both race that number today. We're back in 30 seconds. 6 plays, 94 yards, capped off by the Freeman touchdown run. Freeman 2 touchdowns. He did have the fumble inside the 1, but he's averaging 7 yards a carry.
A little better than last week, 6 yards on 6 carries. But I was just saying the fumble right there. And when you fumble on the goal line, he knows that Tevin Coleman's going back in, and he can't wait to get his opportunity. You and I were talking to Greg, Charles. Where'd my carries go? If I get it, I'm not letting it go again.
Carries went on that fumble because remember, Coleman started that series. It had 2 big runs prior to Freeman finishing things off. So that tandem, hard to deal with.
17 rushes for the Falcons, 128 rushing yards. The 3rd annual Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award honors NFL players who exemplify outstanding sportsmanship on the field. Each team nominates one player for the award. And although he's not playing today, the longtime outstanding San Francisco left tackle Joe Staley, 2nd year in a row, he's one of the 8 finalists. The winner will be announced at the NFL Honors the night before the Super Bowl. Mark Teitelman will be putting that whole program together for you.
It's going to be great. It's a tremendous deal each and every year. 2nd straight year Joe Staley's been nominated for this award for San Francisco. He'd rather have a lot of wins, but I think he's equally proud of being nominated for that award. Did you notice the number of linemen that were nominated? All those guys knocking into each other, right? Smashing around, still playing the game the right way.
4:28 to go, and Kaepernick has it dropped by Selleck. Mercy. Peter Schrager.
Hey guys, Tom spoke with Joe Staley for a while before the game. He said one of the things he's happiest about or proudest of is last year before the Super Bowl, he had met a man, Janelle Spivey, and his 7-year-old daughter, Jordan Spivey. He said, I had a couple tickets to the Super Bowl. He was going through dialysis the day before Super Bowl. Said, hey, have my tickets, enjoy the day. I mean, that's the kind of guy Joe Staley is.
No doubt about it. Number 1 pick, the 2nd of 2 number 1 picks in 2007 out of Central Michigan is Joe Staley.
Another former tight end turned offensive tackle. So you see that footwork, agility, played tight end the first 2 years at Central Michigan.
Yeah, that was Brian Kelly, now the Notre Dame coach, who made him into an offensive lineman.
They turned Connor Barwin into a defensive end. Brian Kelly giving guys pro careers, even if they weren't sure about it.
He better start doing a lot of changing at Notre Dame right now.
Yeah, they're actively working on it as we speak.
Crossing pattern, and the reception is made. Whoa! Big hit on the rookie Aaron Burbridge, delivered by Neal.
First of all, again, Kaepernick does a good job because he sees Beasley spying, so he's going to keep his eyes downfield. Burbridge from Michigan State makes a good hands catch, but right there, run through your target, not to your target, and run through it and bring your feet on contact. Exactly what Neal did. Perfect tackle.
One thing I would look at is the spying Beasley's cool, but having him rush the passer is better. Because when he's spying, he's out of the play for you in a lot of ways.
Read option, they give it to Drone, his first carry. And it looked like Martin was limping around a little bit. Martin is filling in for their Starter Daniel Kilgore at center, who was injured last week, and he's finished for the year.
Beatles taking Staley's spot out of left tackle, normally the left guard.
Tiller moved in at left guard, who started the began the year as a starter, lost his job to Joshua Garnett. He's now the right guard.
But everybody has those issues.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I mean, not making an excuse, right? That's what they have.
Well, nobody knows that better, Chris Spielman, and your brother-in-law, the general manager of your brother, I beg your pardon, the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, Rick Spielman. Their offensive line has just been ravaged.
Yep, and the 7th combination today as they got hammered by the Colts. You know, the last thing they'll do is make excuses. You can't make excuses in the NFL. It's just, nobody cares. And besides that, that's where your roster comes into play. How deep is your roster? What off-season moves do you make? What do you anticipate happening? Where's the competition? What it's about.
2-minute warning. 28-7, Falcons in front. Follow your favorite team all season long. Go to iTunes.com/NFL. It's a 2-minute warning. Falcons here in the second quarter with a 28-7 lead. The Niners from their own 40. Good protection. Kaepernick delivers a strike, and it's caught by Chris Harper, his second catch. Clock continues to run. It's a first down.
Essentially, you're having a 3-man rush because, as you mentioned, they're not letting Beasley go. When he lines up inside, he's the spy. Now, when he lines up on the edge, that's when he becomes a pass rusher. So you're eliminating your best pass rusher by just the presence of Colin Kaepernick.
Right now, I would take him and run him at Colin Kaepernick.
Go.
Kaepernick again on a crossing pattern. And a catch made by Curley. Going to be a 6-yard game. Let's check in with Carissa Thompson.
Thanks, Tom. To Arizona we go. Cardinals down 11. Carson Palmer finds J.J. Nelson with his 10-yard pass. Nelson's 3rd straight week with the score. Saints still up 24-20 at half. Tom?
All right, Carissa, thank you very much. 1:05 to go, and they hand it off to Carlos Hyde. He's running hard. And it's to the 35. Probably got to spend a timeout here. 49ers have 2 left, and they will. 55 seconds remain until halftime. And how about it, Kurt Menefee on the Visa Halftime Report?
Coming up on the Visa Halftime, the Patriots and Broncos put on a show in Denver, and 2 AFC West foes battle it out as the Raiders visit the Chargers. Get your popcorn ready. It's all coming up on the Visa Halftime.
Already there, Kurt. Can't wait.
I love it. How about Kurt on the big screen there? Looking good. But hey, I need to go back to that last run as we look at the total yards for the game. Atlanta piling it up in a big way. Carlos Hyde, you mentioned earlier, Chris, he runs angry.
Yeah.
He also runs with good vision, too. You see how he found the gaps, he found the spaces, and created some for himself.
And a burst.
Catch made by Ham, just brought off for the last 3 games for the 49ers. That's his first catch with San Francisco. 38 seconds left. Ball at the 28-yard line. Right back to the same spot. A first down to Ham. To the 22.
The Falcons are playing smart here. I know it can get frustrating as a late flag drops. But they're dropping and making sure they're giving all the underneath stuff away to them.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, late hit, defense, number 55, half the distance to the goal, first down.
Paul Warlow,
who's in for Campbell. Coming in from the left side, you'll see number 55 come into your screen. Now, you have to pull up.
And you know, Warlow was a 3-year starter for the leading tackler, the whole deal. He had to give way this year for Deion Jones. I think when that happens sometimes, Chris, guys come off the bench to play. It's a little extra, eagerness to them because they're not used to sitting over there, and he didn't make a good decision on that play.
All right, so now you have 28 seconds left. You have 1 timeout, ball at the 11. Kaepernick throwing to the end zone, incomplete with an eye on Ham. That's just good coverage back there by Neal.
Yeah, Neal's been really good and solid, but that's just the timing route. Watch how Ham gets stoned by Neal, but Ham is going to initiate the contact, instead of avoiding the contact. right there. And Neal gets away with a little bit, but you have to be stronger and be able to run through that coverage. He did not.
And now that there's not much space back here, can these 49er receivers win in these one-on-one battles against the defense?
Catch made by Hyde off of one tackle, and he's to the 5-yard line. They'll spend another timeout. And that's a final timeout for the 49ers here in the opening half. Well, some of the headlines early on, if you're just joining us here on the NFL on Fox, a Giants defense slows down Detroit in a win in the Meadowlands today. The Packers had a wild one against the Bears, but they keep doing what they've been doing to Chicago for a long time, and a stunner. The Titans very much in the playoff race, going to 8-6 on the year. Final play of the game, a field goal to win the game in Kansas City.
And remember, somewhere around the 3-minute mark, a little bit more than that, they scored down 1 and went for 2 and didn't get it.
That's right.
And people were wondering about the decision and found a way to win at the buzzer.
Third down. Kaepernick, a bullet in there, and that's a touchdown. That's Rod Streeter with a touchdown for the 49ers. Very well done in the final 2 minutes of this half by Colin Kaepernick.
It's just a classic mistake right here. First of all, you cannot fall off the cliff. That means step into the end zone and let that guy just post you up like a basketball player. You have to defend that line with everything you have. You cannot give him that space, basically, to box out the defender.
The rule is make them throw it over your head towards the back of the end zone, not in front of you. Just what Chris was talking about. If you're guarding in the end zone and someone's in front of you, you're not playing the coverage correctly.
Right, point after now. And I don't know what happened. It may have been blocked. Hard to tell here because Dawson, about as sure a kicker as there is in the history of the National Football League. See if we can tell.
Check the hold. No, everything was fine. Did he hit the top of the ball maybe? I'm not sure, because that just looked like something you just don't see from Phil Dawson, obviously. But he may have kicked the top of the football and sent it because the hold looked fine.
All right, fellas, we were talking in the first quarter. You know, Chris, you brought up it looked like the 49ers, who had played hard even during this 12-game losing streak, were maybe on the border of mailing this one in the first quarter, but now all of a sudden they made it a 2-score game.
Exactly what we said, and we only say what our eyes see. They packed it in the first quarter, then we challenged them, or they challenged themselves. What do you have for the next 3 quarters? Are you going to sign your name to what you do? And offensively, they have. They've done a good job coming back, and they're down in numbers and down in players. Nobody cares. They're still fighting and competing, at least on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think what's been most impressive to me about this is Atlanta had a little bit of a lull themselves. They got up 21-0. San Francisco started fighting and clawing back into the ball game. And Atlanta, at that point, once they got pressed again, they came back with some big drives. They had a fumble at the goal line with Devontae Freeman, cost themselves points. They got it back on the next series, went 90-plus yards, and put it back into the end zone. That's the mark of a good football team as well.
All right, we're under, well, now 13 seconds left here until halftime. We know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers later tonight will play in Dallas. The Cowboys team was on some kind of roll since the season opener. They were averaging almost 28 points per game during their long win streak, but then all of a sudden these last 2 games they turned the ball over. They're scoring just 12 points per game, and the whole Romo-Prescott thing has started up.
I think it's a big night for Dak. I think he has to play well. If he doesn't play well, then you really got to consider, do I go with the established, very good football player in Tony Romo?
And they better check with their locker room on that one, because that locker room wants Dak.
That locker room wants to win.
28-13. We go to Kurt Menefee and company in Los Angeles for the Visa halftime right now. First half moments brought to you by Head & Shoulders. Give it to Devontae Freeman, and he's into the end zone, a touchdown. Back of the end zone, and that is a touchdown for Gabriel. Those were some of the first half moments brought to you by Head & Shoulders, and we welcome you, Brock, up to the broadcast booth. All right, Charles, bottom line is it's 28-13, and Peter Schrager's telling us they're pretty excited down there in that 49er sideline.
And they should be, because of the way they bounced back. They had a chance to let this thing go away. They didn't. But guess what? Atlanta gets the ball to start the second half. Paramount San Francisco get a stop.
I thought the offense for the 49ers responded to the challenge. They really did, and what we talked about in the pregame about fighting and competing the whole time. The defense is trying, but they're outmanned. There's so many guys down right now, and they're playing with backups. They just got to hang in there and try to force a turnover to make something happen.
Speaking of Peter Schrager, let's go down to the sideline.
Thanks, Tom. Just spoke with Dan Quinn, the head coach of the Falcons, and the message is to finish. He says if it's a man-to-man, you better win that man-to-man battle. This is why we practice fighting every day in practice for games like these, closing the door. And you just mentioned it. 49ers, they got out in a hole here, 21-0, but Chip Kelly has his boys fighting and playing hard. Rod Streeter scored that touchdown. The entire bench was up. Chip Kelly said, I don't care about the injuries. It's the NFL. You want it or not? Let's go get it.
All right, here we go. Matt Ryan went 12 out of 14 in the opening half, 192 yards and 2 touchdowns, but they did so much damage on the ground that they, after a 4-yard carry, drops Freeman. But I mean, the rushing yards inside some of the numbers, possessions on their first 3 possessions for Atlanta. And the 49ers, 172 yards and all 13 points in the second quarter.
Quite the improvement last week against the Rams. The Falcons averaged 2.6 yards per carry. For them to go where they want to go, they have to be balanced.
And they're averaging just short of 7 per carry. Second down and 7, and Ryan will lay it off to Freeman out of the backfield. And he has a first down up to the 35-yard line.
Man, he missed Aldrick Robinson on the post. He had him down the middle of the field, and I don't know why he didn't pull the trigger. He normally doesn't miss, but he does go with the outlet right here. Aldrick Robinson was on the inside with nobody behind him. He went to the outlet to keep the drive alive with Freeman.
And you see how Freeman picked up the first down? You get a lot of people just try and get to the sideline. He knew where the first down marker was, dropped the shoulder to ensure that he got the yardage.
And the beat goes on. An NFL record continues for Ryan. He's thrown for 200 or more yards in now 53 consecutive games. Freeman, big running room. That's a gain of 9 to the 45.
Well, I haven't seen this play since Patty Papadopoulos, my Little League coach, put this in. It's a toss counter. Watch Hooper's going to come and kick out, and it's a toss, and it's a designed cutback run. And Torlolo right there does a good job of getting to the second level. That's a beautiful designed play by Kyle Shanahan.
Used to see Nebraska run it all the time in college under Tom Osborne. Toss it right back to him. Looks like a toss to the perimeter. It's a power play.
Freeman again and again. Excellent running. Bethea spins him down across midfield to the 49er 48-yard line.
Same play, but now it's a handoff. This time they have Austin Hooper again coming across. Not only is he valuable as a receiver, his eyes are looking inside, telling me he's coming. And again, there's the down block by Tololo, and Austin Hooper's able to cut down Brooks.
But now we'll play action and look it down the middle of the field for Gabriel. Contact made and no flag. That looked to be just a situation where Gabriel ran right into the 49er defender, Tremaine Brock.
I like what Tom just said there, because I thought at the end of the play, people were looking for the flag. They ran into each other. I thought it was a good job keeping the flag in the pocket. Let's take a look as we go downfield. Gabriel looking for the ball. The defender trying to look back. They bump in contact. I'm okay with no flag there. I don't know how you feel, Chris.
That's a tremendous job by Brock right there.
He's right there on. He looks back. But did you notice on that deep ball? It's the same action we saw on the previous 2 running plays with the tight end in the backfield. So they ran the counter off the runs.
Second and 10, Coleman. And still on his feet. Got an extra 3-4 yards after the initial contact was made.
I just love competition, man. It brings out the best. And when you have 2 competitive guys like Freeman and Coleman, you see the extra effort in how they run through blocks, and they fight and claw and bite and scratch for every inch that they can get, because they know the next guy in is hungrier than they are.
Yeah, it's hard when that guy makes the big run to go, hey, boy, that was great. That was great, because you really wanted it to be you.
Might be a free play here for Ryan. He's going to put it up to Taylor Gabriel down the sideline. Defended beautifully again by Brock.
But a smart play by Ryan. And that has become increasingly in vogue in the league. That flag goes down, people practice it, go for the big shot.
And a smart play by Gabriel, right? Because then he'll convert his route.
Convert your route, make sure you go deep. They practice this all over the league now.
Offside, defense number 99. That penalty results in a first down.
Yeah, I know Aaron Rodgers and the Packers have made it really popular, but it's everywhere now. You get that guy to jump, everyone knows it, you convert your routes. This is what you're talking about, see? And Gabriel's like, all right, let's go get it.
Nice job by Brock, too.
Excellent job by Brock, wasn't it? Great coverage. But it's a good job by Atlanta taking the shot.
And Mack by snapping the ball. Once he sees that guy jump, then you snap the ball, especially in the shotgun.
So they actually do some things in practice then, don't they? All right, they actually work on stuff.
On the 38-yard line, first down, play action blitz coming. Ryan gets it away, and it's incomplete. Boy, coming hard off the corner was Reeser.
That's a nice job of bringing a corner blitz. And you only do this when the ball is into the boundary, and Matt's a little bit late. He did not eyeball him. He goes right to the read, but just by the pressure from the other side, Rashard Robinson comes from the left. Threes are coming from the right, and Matt throws that one where he rarely misses because Robinson was open on the corner.
They pitch it to Coleman. Oh, good tackle there. Quentin Dial leading the way along with Tart from the safety spot. And let's go downstairs to Peter Schrager.
Hey, guys. Andre Campbell is out with a concussion. He will not return, and we'll keep you updated on some other injuries as we go.
So the rookie linebacker, Devondre Campbell, will undergo concussion protocol. You'll read about that during this entire week. Falcons next week. We'll see them in Charlotte against the defending conference champion Panthers. Ball is loose. And quickly able to dive right on top of it was Schrader. Looked like Ahmad Brooks may have stripped it out of there.
An excellent job by the defense right here, answering the call and stepping up to the challenge. Ahmad Brooks throws away Schrader, is able to disengage, not give up 1-for-1, and really a nice effort by Schrader after getting your rear end kicked on the edge, coming back and not quitting on the play and recovering it.
Well, he was able to do that because of what you had described. He had turned him around where he could actually see the play. And because he was able to see it, he's able to get to the football.
So the 49ers get what they needed to get to begin this second half, and that was forcing Atlanta to punt the ball. End over end punt, and Curley a fair catch at the 7-yard line. So the strip by Brooks leads to the big loss on third down.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency.
First possession of this third quarter for the 49ers. Kaepernick fakes it one way, comes back the other way, and it looked like that one was stripped right out of the hands of Selleck by Alford.
Number one quality for a corner, in my estimation, is closing speed. Selleck can run, but Alford does a great job. The ball's a little bit behind, and Alford with his closing speed comes and plays the ball and strips it beautifully.
Pretty well designed play there, though. I wouldn't be surprised to see it come right back with that one again. Backed up on the 7-yard line on a second down and 10. Little read option. They give it to Carlos Hyde. And he's up to the 10-yard line. It'll bring up third down and 8. Hyde at 9 carries, 46 yards. His longest run of the game is 17 yards. It's not a time when you're down by just a 2-score game to give up entirely on the run game. That's your strength.
See Keanu Neal right there, dislocated finger, and he's pulling on that finger to snap it back in place. That's a one play. Actually do that. My teammates used to do that for me.
Third down. Kaepernick being chased. And it's incomplete. He had an eye on Carlos Hyde. So 3 and out. Heavy pressure that time by Beasley. Man, can Beasley run.
And the dip, Tom. Watch the left shoulder. Watch number 44. See that left shoulder dip and rip? Pad level wins, and he gets that corner. And remember, Beatles is out there working. Normally a guard playing tackle. It's very difficult to match him one-on-one against the speedy Vic Beasley.
Well, you know, by and large, he's done a nice job today, Beatles has.
Well,
I mean, Beasley has 1 sack. In fact, that's the only sack the Falcons have of Kaepernick. Weems a fair catch at his own 44-yard line. Ryan already a pair of touchdowns today. He gets the football back in his hands when we come back. Ryan right at 200. We told you earlier this year he broke the all-time NFL record 4 consecutive games of 200 or more passing yards. So he continues to add to that. 53 of them now. Falcons gunning for their 9th win of the year, trying to set the pace, not keep pace, but set the pace with Tampa Bay in the NFC South. Tomorrow on Undisputed, Skip and Shannon will break down the weekend's NFL action. They'll start making their predictions for the playoffs already. Undisputed weekdays, 9:30 Eastern, only on FS1. And Charles and Chris, I know, will be dialed in at 9:30 a.m.
Watch it when I work out. Love it. You know, Atlanta's got to start throwing the ball a little bit on first down. You got the 49ers all packed up in there. Just something to keep in mind.
Play fake and looking for the big one again is Ryan. Now he'll run it. Now he'll throw it. Coming back to get it is Robinson. And he's to the 37-yard line, a first down. And let's check in with Carissa Thompson.
Thanks, Tom. Earlier today, after losing 21-20 in a heartbreaking loss to the Texans and losing their 9th straight game, Gus Bradley fired as the head coach of the Jags. His record in Jacksonville, 14-48. Tom?
Man, you always hate to see someone lose their job, but that was inevitable. It wasn't a matter of when, and I thought they'd wait till the end of the year. But I think that blowing that game in the fashion they did, I think finally Jacksonville management just said, that's it, and we'll move on. It's too bad. Good guy, but he didn't win enough games by far.
Turns out Jack Del Rio wasn't all that bad down there. And you guys know as well as I do. I mean, Charles, you've been around the game forever, played the game. Chris, same thing. You know, that whole Jacksonville franchise, it's got a ways to go. It's not just a head coach.
And, you know, and they have drafted well in recent years. You see a lot of young talent on the team, but it hasn't coalesced. This was supposed to be the year that they made a pretty significant push. It obviously didn't happen. You know, Gus Bradley coming from the Pete Carroll tree, Dan Quinn from the Pete Carroll tree. One went one direction, the other ascending.
Here's the deal. Bortles has got to be more consistent.
That's exactly.
He has talent. Bortles has to play better.
Real nice work there by Aaron Lynch, who's had a very, very disappointing season. There's no two ways about that.
You see the size of him playing an outside linebacker, 270 pounds, looking him out in space. But this is where the advantage is to him right now, is because he's working with the receiver and they don't block him, and Aaron Lynch does a good job of adjusting and getting upfield and engulfing Freeman.
Played last week for the first time in 5 weeks. Was suspended to begin the year. He's played through some injuries and trying to finish strong this last month. Third down. Excellent coverage again by Tremaine Brock.
Well, that's the advantage that Brock has, because this is not a big size matchup problem. And usually with those bigger wide receivers on those slants, it's tougher for a smaller corner to go over the top like Brock did. But because of Gabriel's height, it is easy for him to go and knock it down. And I think it was fine. The left hand was there maybe a little late.
Well, here's Bryant. In his career from 50-plus, he's hit on 23 of 39, 3 of 5 so far this year. Right at 50. This guy's a good kicker, man. Tell you what, he will be a factor if Atlanta reaches a postseason. This guy's been good for a long time. 31-13.
Today's game is sponsored by Verizon. It's always a great gift on Verizon.
Eight possessions, 4 touchdowns, a field goal. They fumbled once at the 1-yard line, did Atlanta. Falcons have punted only 1 time. They took a knee on the final possession of the opening half. It's pretty good efficiency for these Falcons, minus the fumble in the red zone. 6:29 to go in the third quarter from Atlanta.
This game is sponsored by Samsung Pay. Turn your phone into your wallet.
And Eddie Bartolo Jr. announced the creation of the Golden Heart Fund, which will help former 49er players in times of need, including mental and physical health issues, disaster relief, personal financial need. That will all be directed by an alumni board. Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott a part of that as far as his help. Harris Barton and Brent Jones, among others. That's great stuff. And, of course, Eddie DeBartolo going into the NFL Hall of Fame. Nice to see this past summer.
I don't think any owner treated his team any better than Eddie DeBartolo.
No, and you saw Keenan Turner was a great player, and this is a great play by Brooks Reed. Again, understanding that it's a quick throw, reading the quarterback's eyes, coming off of his pass rush, and getting a vertical to get in the throwing lane to bat it away. Smart.
Carlos Hyde plows across the 30 up to the 33-yard line. Makes it a very manageable, 3rd down and 2. Tell you, Hyde's a good back. If he were playing for one of the better teams in the league, he'd be getting a lot more pub than he gets. Came into this one needing 121 yards for his first 1,000-yard rushing season.
This whole thing is he has to stay healthy.
Has missed a lot of time. That's nice running right there. Very patient running, waiting to get that final block, and then lowers his shoulder and picks up a first down.
Again, understanding gap responsibility. One of the few mistakes Neal makes, number 22, who will come into your picture on this toss sweep. Good job by Beatles getting around. 22, Neal jumps inside. He's the furthest most outside contained player. His only job is to turn that ball back inside. See him jump inside right there, and that allowed Carlos Hyde the corner to get the first down. That's a mental error, not a physical error.
Kaepernick being chased, and what a nice play made by Hagman. Second round pick 2 years ago out of Minnesota.
Rashid Hagman known much more for run stuffing abilities. Handles it right there. Coming up the double team. It was Marcus Martin 66 and Joshua Garnett 65. And then they left him alone. And Kaepernick had nowhere to go, and good effort and pursuit by Hagman to knock down Kaepernick.
Mental error, not a lack of communication between a new starting center and a rookie guard.
Yeah, 2 blocking him, then you have none.
Almost a 13, and Kaepernick going to keep it himself. He'll stay on his feet, turns the corner, picks up nice yardage.
Same problem that Neal had. Watch Brandon pull. Again, understanding what you have. All your guys are coming from the inside. 34, Brandon Poole. Watch him jump inside on Jeremy Curley. Right here. That's not your job. Your job is to stay outside and force the ball into Deion Jones, pursuing from his linebacker position.
It's a 3rd down now for Kaepernick. And I'm not sure that the receiver ever got his head turned around Curley to look for that football.
He's a thumper, though, isn't he, Charles?
That he is, and that's why they got him. You know, people talk about him being the Earl Thomas that Dan Quinn had. I think he's more of the Cam Chancellor with probably a little bit better coverage ability. Watch him in the middle. Just driving on the football, coming up there and making a play. Came into the game with 4 forced fumbles as well.
He needs one more of those to tie the all-time NFL rookie record set by our old buddy, Mark Carrier. A rookie with the Chicago Bears in 1990.
Indeed, he was a thumper too.
Sure was, and a good guy.
One of the best.
31-13, the Falcons in front. They get the football when we come back. Falcons a quarter And 3 minutes and 58 seconds away from going to 9-5 on the year. We brought up earlier that Tampa Bay will play later tonight in Dallas. Those two teams tied atop the NFC South with 3 games to go, and they will not play again, by the way.
Currently, Atlanta has a tiebreaker between the two if they did finish with the same record.
Atlanta had that start last year where they began the season their first under Dan Quinn at 6-1. It's a nice strong run. Penalty flag is down by Tevin Coleman, but then the Falcons lost 7 of their last 9. They finished 500, which was an improvement from the year before. But
illegal shift offense. Number 16 and number 32 are in motion. Neither set prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
But they would not make the playoffs. Let's check in with Peter downstairs.
Yeah, guys, a totally different vibe in that building, too. Last year, Dan Quinn said they waived a player and they watched as he got his stuff together. He exchanged phone numbers with a teammate. Quinn said, that's unacceptable. How do these guys not have their phone number? And he totally changed the locker room. We'll get to it after this play.
Yeah, he said those two players were in the same position group. I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise if an offensive lineman might not have the phone number of a defensive back. But, you know, the two players were both in the same room, meeting after meeting, day after day, month after month. Peter?
Yeah, and guys, this is what happened. So they basically had a locker room. There was different rows, all different position groups. Dan Quinn said, let's just refurbish the whole thing. Let's rip it apart. I'm going to ask Arthur Blank, the owner. He's going to do it. It's all about culture. And now every player in that locker room faces one another. And there's different guys sitting next to each other. It's not just the center and the quarterback. You have a defensive end next to a tight end. It's a family. And what he said was, it's a brotherhood, not a neighborhood. Dan Quinn's got the culture stuff down.
Well, you know, you have it down when you're winning. You know, it's that age-old debate in every sport as they put in the hands of Gabriel. And that's a big gain all the way to the 45. You know, the old chicken or the egg, which comes first? Is it culture that creates winning, or is it winning that creates culture?
Well, on this play, why they won on this play, it's sight adjustment based off of culture and training. Gabriel sees the corner blitz right there. Matt Ryan sees it. Gabriel doesn't even go on his route. He just pulls off of whatever was called and sits there and waits for the strike so he can transition from catch to run without hesitation.
Penalty flag comes down on Devontae Freeman.
By the way, Tom, it's winning ultimately allows the culture to set in. You can set that culture, but if you're not winning, then guys don't believe. You have to believe in it. I mean, Chip has his way of doing, Chip Kelly has his way of doing things, and if it's successful, everybody's buying in. If you're not successful, then people look around and say, this stuff doesn't work. That's just human nature, though.
Sure.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Defense, number 33. It's a 5-yard penalty tacked on to the end of the run. Automatic first down.
You remember last year, Dan Quinn's tried all of these things. Right? He was working on all of this. All the stuff that we're talking about now is not new to this year. But what he told us was, I think I was a little surprised it took as long as it did. You know, I think you come in with enthusiasm and, hey, this is going to work fast. It takes a while for guys to truly buy in, and they have bought in with Dan Quinn in a big way now, which helps with the winning process.
Might be wondering why the crowd was so excited. They were just putting it on a tee for Devontae Freeman into the end zone. What a day for Freeman. Over 100 rushing yards and now 3 touchdowns. And Merry Christmas.
So we talk about what a day for Freeman, and you're exactly right, but what a day for these guys right along here. The offensive line, first of all, Jake Matthews sealing and flipping his hips, sealing inside. See those hips flip? Right here, receivers blocking downfield just enough with Aldridge Robinson. Then Freeman is off to the races. That's a total team effort. That's a culture thing, which turns into a winning thing.
What a day for Freeman. Last week, 6 carries, 6 yards against the Rams. This week, 19 rushing attempts, 139 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. 1:42 to play in the third quarter. 38-13 Atlanta. And let's send it back to Los Angeles to Kurt Menefee.
Arizona's David Johnson, 13 games, 100 yards from scrimmage in each. That ties an NFL record. Trying to make it 14. He gets a 2-yard touchdown, but right now is at 83 yards, yet he still has a quarter to play. It's 27 all with the Saints. Tom, Charles, Chris, and Peter.
You know, we talk about MVPs. Matt Ryan certainly is an MVP candidate. If he was on a better team, Chris Johnson, in my eyes, would be an MVP candidate.
You mean David?
David Johnson, excuse me, yes.
How about that? I mean, you diagrammed the run there, Chris, and Freeman bolting through. Tom, you nailed it. 6 yards last week on 6 carries. Then the fumble earlier. Chris was talking about, hey, competition now.
Yeah.
You're losing carries. Devontae Freeman's not about to lose carries. A Pro Bowler last year. He's back in form this week.
Coach O'Neill trying to draw up answers, and you know he's down guys.
Yeah.
You're playing with they're professional football players, but they're still young in their backups. You can't have too many backups in there.
Can't hide them.
No,
you can't hide them. You only hide them for so long. And look, let's be honest about it. Opening night, that win against the Rams, that's a long time ago now for this team. Long time ago.
Shepard out across the 20 to the 24. Sundays make football family. This season, Fox and the NFL is celebrating football families of all kinds. And this week, we're featuring the Cummings family. We had a chance to meet them before the game, shared their Sunday football family story with us. And the Cummings are experiencing their first ever Falcons game as a family together. Hosted by Fox, the Falcons, and the NFL. It's very, very nice to meet them before the game. They were so excited, and hey, look, you know, why not do it every day of the year? But this time of the year, it sure was nice to hopefully make their day and their holiday season a little bit better.
And they made ours a little bit better.
They sure
see
did.
Those grins, and you know, everybody just having a good time, and that just makes you feel good too.
I asked a little man before the game if Santa Claus is coming to his house next week. He said, "You better believe it."
In many letters and texts, and nowadays you text him, you tweet him, you do all those things.
Right.
Real quick now, here's the problem that San Francisco has. You mentioned it, Chris. They're down personnel and the whole deal. If you're Atlanta, you're going to play a lot of man coverage now with a free safety back because you don't believe anyone's going to run by you or push you deep. Everything that San Francisco's done in this game has been underneath, misdirection, all of that. Who can go downfield and win a one-on-one route against the Falcons secondary? They're going to make them prove it.
There was some running room if that ball is caught in stride for Curley. He picks up 8.
See, Curley won that route at the line of scrimmage and allowed him access inside. And as you noted, Tom, if that ball keeps him on his feet, he's able to go. But again, it's another underneath throw. Not much downfield. So until they really sting him and hurt him downfield, I think you'll continue to see this type of coverage. Lock up, man free back deep.
Well, they had an eye on Carlos Hyde the entire way, and so too did Neal.
No, guy that's played well is Worlow, number 55. Charles mentioned the past starter here, getting his opportunity to play. Nice discipline by Neal of not getting there, arriving before the ball. Carlos should have probably caught that one. But Worlow's played a nice game today. Big contributor on special teams. He's made a lot of plays.
And he's been great in the linebacker room with Deion Jones, helping bring him along with calls and giving him more confidence in how he needs to communicate with his teammates on defense.
Fair catch by Weems at the 22. All right, well, you know, you don't put one in the books, but certainly Atlanta with a 38-13 lead. We look at the NFC playoff picture. Dallas plays tonight. Seattle already a winner. The Lions losing today, which certainly makes things very, very interesting in that NFC North, man, because the Lions and the Packers have one more game to play. The Giants, a huge step in taking command of the wild card, and we mentioned the Buccaneers. Redskins will play tomorrow night. Green Bay a winner today, and everybody else probably in trouble.
Well, you look at, I think this team right here, the Redskins, they're as good offensively as I've seen all year. I really do. I think that Kirk Cousins is playing at a high level. If their defense can stay consistent, if they get in a run, they can be dangerous if they get into the playoffs.
Tough thing for Detroit is how they're finishing.
Yep.
At the Giants, at Dallas now. They lost to the Giants today in New York, New Jersey. At Dallas this week, or Arlington, Texas, before I have people upset with me. And then they finish home with Green Bay. So Green Bay, Minnesota next week is a monster game. That's like a loser leave town game, right? It's an elimination shot. So Green Bay gets through that one and goes to Detroit. Remember, Green Bay's already won up on Detroit. Beat them earlier this year.
Beat them bad.
At Tampa Bay. 3 to go. That begins in Big D tonight. End of the third. NFL on Fox continues after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Atlanta pitching a shutout here in the second half. Of course, the 49ers really have fallen apart this entire year in the second half of games. We documented some of those numbers very early on. 49ers twice this year, including last weekend, had a lead of 14 points or more in the opening quarter. Both times they have lost such games. Now, to give you an idea about how rare that is, that has happened one time total by all the other teams in the league this year in the NFL, where a team had a 14-point lead in the first quarter and lost. 49ers have done it twice.
Wow. I mean, wow. Because, you know, I'm used to teams being explosive, get reeled in, you have runs. But 14 points in this league, hard to overcome.
Will Hoyt dragging down Coleman after the catch out of the backfield, good enough for a first down. Our game today produced by Mark Titleman and directed by Greg Scopatone, our associate director Alex Olson, our broadcast associate Jordan Wolf, Bob Muller, our technical producer, and our technical director Dane Crawford. Great audio man in the booth today, right here, Atlanta's very own Rick Newstreet. Thank our entire crew for all of their hard work. Saw that note. 49ers have allowed over 2,400 rushing yards. I mean, in virtually every category you can find, this will go down as the single worst San Francisco 49er defense in the history of the franchise. It is what it is.
And another problem that their defense has, and Chip has addressed this, saying that, you know, they're not converting third downs, they're not getting off the field. Their defense leads the league in the amount of plays that they play against offenses. So that certainly doesn't help the stat sheet or that man right there, Jim O'Neill.
That's been a story that every year Chip Kelly has been a head coach in this league. Wide open is Toilolo. And that's his first catch all the way to the 38-yard line.
This was well designed, well schemed, because they take your eyes one place. Okay, they're going to take your eyes here, but it's going to come back here. So you see the crosser, Robinson going here. There's the cross. And then Toilolo sneaking back underneath through the wash. And Matt Ryan did a nice job manipulating the secondary with the look downfield for Aldrick Robinson before resetting and coming back across the field.
So why do you run that play when you're up 38-13?
Put it on tape.
And give them something to think about as future opponents.
All future opponents going to have to plan for it and work on it.
Nice play behind the line of scrimmage right there by Tart. You know, fellas, I want to get both you guys were defensive players in your day. And you touched on something a moment ago. It's 4 years as a head coach now for Chip Kelly since leaving the college game, and we know all about his offensive style and getting a lot of plays and a hurry-up kind of thing. And, you know, every year he's been a head coach in the league, his defense has played the most snaps in the league 3 of the 4 times. The other year, it was the second most snaps on defense. It's not a matter of the question, can Chip Kelly win in the NFL? He had 2 teams in Philadelphia that won 10 games. One of them won a divisional championship. The question I would pose to you two guys as former defenders in this league, in the long haul, can you win with that style of play without wearing out your defense?
Well, I think you wear out your defense by the sheer volume, number one. But it's not being mitigated by them actually moving the ball and scoring points. So you can mitigate some of that if your defense has to play a different style. See, this defense is always playing from behind anyway. And you're playing a whole lot of plays. And this is the first year that the hurry-up offense style is not playing into it. They've slowed themselves down. Their problem is, as Chris articulated earlier, you're not converting third down, so they don't stay on the field. So guess what? The defense has to play more.
Well, and from my perspective, look, playing fast and all that's the least of their problems. The least of the problems that they have.
We all agree on that with the 49ers, but I'm just talking about as an overall philosophical idea when he had really good players, let's say, for example, in Philadelphia. If they're going to think about Chip Kelly in the long haul.
I think Chip has actually slowed it down, and Chip mentioned in some articles this week that they've actually snapped the ball with single digits left on the clock, and that probably kills them. But you only have 45 guys that are out there playing. You don't have the numbers or the depth to play at that high speed that he played with at Oregon.
You remember Indianapolis with Peyton Manning? That defense was built to play with a lead, remember? They were built to play with a 14-0 lead. The problem with San Francisco, they're not getting out to those leads and able to hold them. So now, you're playing a whole different style on defense, and the other team is dictating to you.
Today's game is sponsored by the all-new 2017 Ford Super Duty. This is the next level.
10:51 to go from Atlanta. 38-13 Falcons in front. Atlanta trying to set the pace inside the NFC South with Tampa Bay playing later tonight. It's a gain of 5 on a first down catch by Curley. You know, we've talked a little bit about Chip Kelly. We'll talk a little bit more about Trent Baalke. But what about Colin Kaepernick? Now, this was a guy who was on top of the mountain, or very close to the top of the mountain, getting to the Super Bowl when Jim Harbaugh was here. Harbaugh, a big backer of Kaepernick, put him in there even when Alex Smith was playing well. He got hurt, never got his job back. But clearly the last couple of years, things have not gone Kaepernick's way. Now, there's been some discussion he has a contract that he might opt out of that and test the free agent market. I think only a madman would consider that when you think about the money they've already guaranteed to pay this guy. But what about moving forward? Is he the quarterback of the 49ers if you're running the show?
When you evaluate the draft, if there's somebody better, is he a placeholder? He's a placeholder in my eyes at best because you have to get better. Now, in fairness to Colin, to me, he's surrounded with number 3 wide receivers. There's not a 1 or 2 wide receiver on his football team. So that stunts his growth and does not let him perform at his highest level. And the other thing, make no mistake about it, regardless of where you fall on Colin's issue of his off-field stuff, that's still an issue. And do you want that to come to your locker room?
All right, Charles Davis, how about it? I mean, is Kaepernick the guy? We've seen him very good. We've seen him not so good.
Yeah, I think that what is going to be determined is what's happening with Chip Kelly, first and foremost. Is he going to be the coach going forward? Because he told us point blank he gives us our best chance to win, even though it's not a good year. Does he want to continue to go forward with him running the offensive style Chip wants to run? If that's not the case, I think that for the most part, people believe that that's not going to be, he won't be there next year. Talk about Colin Kaepernick, that he may be with another squad. And as Chris said, you got to evaluate him as a whole. Do you think he's going to get better? He's going to get back to that level we saw before? The accuracy throwing the football is what's going to concern most teams because the run game option isn't the same as it was before when he was on top of the mountain, as you said, Tom.
All right, Peter Schrager, you have something to add in this conversation, I know.
You guys mentioned the college quarterbacks, and there is no Jameis Winston or Andrew Luck or even a Marcus Mariota in this thing. It's Mitch Trubisky out of North Carolina. It's Deshaun Watson. It's Deshaun Kaiser. I don't know if there's a top 5 quarterback this year, so it's a real open book, and I'll give you a name. Jimmy Garoppolo's entering his final year. Do you go in and just roll the dice and trade for him? I mean, there's a lot of options here. I don't believe Kaepernick necessarily is a shoo-in as the starter for the Niners next year.
We're down at 4, and Kaepernick throws, and that'll move the chains. And while we roll on to the 8-minute mark, let's check in with Kurt Menefee.
And we'll show you NFL history being made. David Johnson becomes the first player with 100 yards from scrimmage in each of the first 14 games this season. That 7-yard touchdown run gave him 108 for the day. More importantly, tied the score at 34 midway through the fourth quarter.
David Johnson. I want to get it right this time.
Well, we had Chris Johnson.
Well, Chris is on the was on the roster there and played well last year.
That one nearly intercepted, thrown behind the tight end hand.
Staying on Colin, this is one area where I think he can improve. Everything does not have to be the number one. The 102 mile per hour fastball.
The heater.
And even just watching him warm up, you don't need to do that because then Ham, the tight end, has no ability to adjust on that fastballs.
That was behind him, you know, had plenty of smoke on it. And as Chris said, no shot of him being able to adjust for that one.
They did not fool the Atlanta defense. That's beautifully played by Goodman. They just brought him back. After Adrian Claiborne was injured, they're hoping to get Claiborne back. He was a nice piece of this defense, former #1 pack of the Buccaneers.
Then another strength of this team, you know, they're limited with depth at linebacker, but they have depth on that defensive line, and they just keep rolling guys in there. And it's nice to bring a Hall of Famer, number 93, Dwight Freeney, off the bench, right there. Yeah, to add a little pass rush.
You have depth on the defensive line. You have agility on the defensive line. Freeney's played outside linebacker. Brooks Reed's played outside linebacker. So you have guys who can play on their feet a little bit as well. Did you see all the pass routes again, guys?
Yeah,
they can't push people, and they're doing the best that they can to manufacture offense. But if you're Atlanta, you just say, okay, in front's fine. I know you can't run by me or push it downfield. And again, on a 3rd and long, he's got to take the shot down right there, and there's a defender offered right on the play. There's no chance of picking up the 1st down with that type of a throw and that coverage that Atlanta has going.
And I would imagine we're going to get our first look at Matt Schaub in this game when you're up 38-13 and 6 minutes to go. Fair catch inside the 10. So the Falcons 6 minutes away from going to 9-5 and staying atop the NFC South. 38-13. Matt Ryan, another big day. 2 touchdowns, 286 passing yards. It will be Matt Schaub taking over in the final minutes at quarterback.
Just real quick, Alex Mack came in that picture with Matt Ryan. It's been a huge addition, and what he's done for Matt Ryan is taken away the line calls. Alex Mack now handles that. Matt Ryan can play with a clearer head.
Well, you know, fellas, you guys know the quarterback position. Look out. This is Teron Wood, and he's all the way across midfield to the 45-yard line. 45-yard run.
Tough to do against an 8-man front, but when you have 3 guys caught on the backside, and Tart gets a little anxious not taking the cutback.
Yeah, if you don't fill the gaps correctly, if you don't fit the run versus an 8-man front, that turns into these types of plays. A lot of space to run if they don't catch you near the line of scrimmage.
241 rushing yards, averaging just short of 7 per carry today for Atlanta. Ward not going to get a breather. He'll pick up 2. Every quarterback, they want to know, have you won the big one? You look at the regular season versus the postseason for Ryan. These are incredible numbers, 82 and 57. But in the playoffs, he has 1 win in 5 games. Not nearly the touchdown to interception ratio. You know, nor should they be at the end of the day. When you're in the playoffs, you're playing teams that are in the playoffs. So even though the numbers may be different, that is not necessarily a surprise. But fellas, look, there are guys in the world that walk around that did not have necessarily a very good career, but they wound up playing great, the right place at the right time, and we could go on and on some of the names through football. And because they won a Super Bowl, they're looked at very differently than guys like, you know, going back to Dan Marino, a Hall of Famer, or even in recent times, Ryan or a guy like Andy Dalton. You're going to the playoffs year after year after year, but what are you doing when you get there? Be interested to hear your thoughts when we come back after they check on Hooper.
Today's game is sponsored by the new film Sing, in theaters this Wednesday.
Left to right, our producer Mark Titleman, Greg Scopatone, Dave Crawford in our truck, and hopefully Hooper is okay. That would be, Chris, as you pointed out, going to break, a very important injury.
Well, yeah, don't forget they're down Tammy, and Austin Hooper's filled in nicely And he's not only such a threat catching the ball and threatening safeties downfield, but he's also been outstanding and improving weekly on his blocking.
Much improved blocker from when they got him. Much improved.
That's Hardy, and he's down to the 27-yard line. That's a first down. Falcons have piled up nearly 550 yards of offense today. Look at that, 10 plays of 20 or more yards. It's more than any game by any team this year.
They're going to mess around and get 600 yards of total offense here. That's not a good sign.
Nope.
And it'd be a shame, too. I mean, 38-13, right? That's football, though. You make that decision. He's a young guy. You want him to get reps.
And it is the NFL. We see it all the time. Guys play a lot longer than what people would think in games like this. Not saying right or wrong, but the NFL way, guys play.
Go back to Los Angeles to Kurt Menefee.
Each of the last 2 games, Drew Brees has had no touchdown passes and 3 picks. He's making up for it today. This is his 4th touchdown pass of the day to the rookie Michael Thomas, and they lead 41-34 at Arizona. Tom, Charles, and Chris.
I still think that Arizona, that whole situation is one of the most interesting in all the NFL, and what's going to happen at the end of this year. Michael Floyd had the DUI earlier this week, and they turned him loose. He's now signed on with New England. But in a day and age where head coaches rarely call out players, I mean to tell you, Bruce Arians has called guys out unlike I can ever remember an NFL coach ever calling out his own players. And things have gotten very ugly out there on a team that was expected to have a big year.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because we've talked about these things, what you do when you're winning, what you do when you're losing, and how they're perceived. When they were winning, no one was talking much about when Bruce would say something about a player. They're losing now, and all of a sudden, well, I'm telling you, the same style, and it's a whole different, not just perception, but maybe how it's even being received by the guys. That's tough.
So even without Julio Jones, this high-octane offense rolling at home.
Today's game is sponsored by Papa John's, the official pizza sponsor of the NFL.
The Falcons have run for 246 yards in this game. That is just 13 yards short of the Niners' entire offensive output in this game.
Didn't the Niners run for 246 last week?
They did.
Against the Jets, 246, 248, something in that neighborhood.
Trying to add to that total is Ward. They ran for 248, the second most in San Francisco history last week.
One more time.
Losing streak will go to 13 in a row. And of course,
who's the last team to
their
do
only
that?
win was the opening game of the season.
I remember the Panthers winning their opener with George Seifert and losing 15 straight.
Trying to get an idea of what's going on here. Got to get that all-important timeout with 15 left to make sure the other team doesn't have enough time to get back in it. I'm not trying to be cynical or sarcastic, but there's a minute 15 left in the game, and you are just thrashing the opposition. Nonetheless, you did exactly what you wanted to do, Chris, Charles. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, the bottom line is you know that Tampa Bay will play in a little while in Dallas tonight. You know that right now you owe the tiebreaker, and you're trying to get into the postseason as a divisional champ.
Well, I look at this team, and they're a threat because they're improving defensively, and if they have balance like they had today. Now, granted, they went up against the worst defense in the National Football League, but they did what they were supposed to do as far as running and passing.
Listen, they didn't have Julio Jones last week, didn't have him again this week, as Matt Bryant knocks another one through the post, and they're still running their offense quite well.
Well, you look most yards allowed in single games this season. It's hard to believe that Tampa Bay defense, the way they're playing right now, the top of that list against Oakland.
That was early. That was in that stretch of Oakland. Remember, Oakland and Atlanta torched them back-to-back weeks.
Nearly 1,000 yards.
Over 1,000 together. And guess what? Since those 2 games, that's when Tampa made the turnaround, changed some things up. But on that list, only one team is a threat for the playoffs that got torched like that, and that's Tampa. Everyone else not a threat for the playoffs.
It's the 3rd time in franchise history the Falcons have scored 40 or more points in consecutive games. They've done it twice this year. All right, Niners play in Los Angeles to try and end that losing streak and wrap it up in Seattle, and Seattle might need that one.
And you're talking about in terms of getting an open week to start, correct? Is that what you're saying, Seattle? To make sure they lock down number 2? That's why they might have to play that one out.
And more importantly for Atlanta, we will see them in Carolina next week. And then they wrap it up. It's always a big rivalry game against New Orleans. Saints normally play them very well. And you can rest assured that Carolina will not roll over next week.
And
what we just mentioned a moment ago, 2nd time they've done it this year.
You look at and Matt Ryan, we talk about. I have not seen him play better, to be honest with you. The way he's rolling, the way he's seeing the field, and just how he takes control, not only during the game but on the practice field. Charles, we had a chance to watch him work. He's doing his thing out there, and guys respond to that type of leadership. And Coach Quinn will tell you that he's what everybody follows. They don't necessarily follow Dan Quinn all the time. They're following number 2 because he can take them to the promised land.
he showed the whole team he bought into the new program and tried to do it that way. If Matt Ryan had showed any resistance to Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan, that would have changed the whole dynamic of this team.
Falcons will stay atop the division. Will they be tied by later tonight? We're back to Atlanta to wrap it up in a moment.